Loved drag racing, and it was something that I went to dirt track racing, wasn't involved in it. Loved to go see the Outlaws race, but I said I'd be doggone if I'm going to build a car that gets the fenders banged up all the time, because you're always working on straightening fenders out. And I had a couple of friends that raced 4-cylinder cars, Pintos and Vegas and stuff like that, and we were always bending fenders and straightening them out after a race, or we were exchanging barbs with the other guys, and on occasion a fisticuff would happen, which is rare in drag racing. I wanted to do something, got transferred. After 18 years, the company decided to transfer me to Greenville, and it was a blessing. I love it in Greenville, and of course the car culture came with me, and that's when I decided to go racing. So I've only been doing it for 10 years. Since 2010, I retired. They put me out to pasture. The Obama economy kicked me out, and of course, I was thankful for that, to be honest with you, that I retired and got to make changes to the car and do things that I wanted to do, which was to go racing. My home track, Ware Shoals, everybody's aware of that. I have no success there, okay? So I tried to find something that I would be a little successful with, and I went to Atlanta one day just on a whim to go see the gear jam they had down there. And I got involved with, they raced index, so I got down there and I raced on the index, and doggone it, I won the doggone thing. The experience was, I don't remember it, okay? I remember my last race and how that ended and who I raced against. But the whole day was like my crew chief saying, Jim Jones, real good guy, he's saying, Russ, you know, you're in the next round. You know, I was lucky at Ware Shoals in bracket racing to make 2 rounds. I mean, that's how pitiful I was, all right? And he said, you're in the second round now, or you're in the third round. You know, you got one more round and you got this thing tied up. I even had a 000 that day on reaction time. So, I mean, everything was just falling into place. And I was lucky to win the race. I won by 1/10,000th of a second or something like that. We were bumper to bumper, and I was racing a guy out of Florida, the Southern Gassers, okay? A group headed up by Jesse Holmes. And of course, they come up north on occasion and invade Atlanta and the Georgia tracks. They race in Albany, they race at Silver Dollar, they race at those tracks. And they have a big following down there, a lot of cars down there. So I got to know those guys pretty well. But the SNDR group that I'm affiliated with now asked me to race with them after I won that event in Atlanta. And that's how it happened like 5 years ago. And of course, after racing at Ware Shoals from 2009 off and on, you know, until 2 years ago, I just dropped out of the IHRA deal, racing bracket racing, maybe 3 years now. And I just concentrated on racing my gasser with the SNDR group. We've got about 60 members now. We race 3 different classes, including stock, super stock in one class, gassers in another. We don't have ABC. We just got one class. Call us Outlaws. We'll race stick shift cars and automatic cars. And of course, we run on an index. And that means you put your index on the windshield after 3 runs. We get 3 practice runs. 2 practice, 1 qualifying. I just call it 3 practice runs. And then you pick your index. You put it on your windshield, that's it. You don't touch it. It's not like everybody says, it's bracket racing. No. You put that index on there, you better know what your car is going to do that, because it's just like, yes, like bracket racing, up and down, but you're stuck on that index. You know, if your car runs quicker, you can't slow down or raise that index. You got to keep it right there. So it makes a little dimensional thing, and it, to me at least, yes, the SNDR is Southeast Nostalgia Drag Racers, and we're 60 strong about right now. We run those 3 classes, gasser, stock, super stock, and open wheel, whether it's dragster or altered cars. We are self-funded. We don't expect anything from the tracks. We pay our entry fee to get in the track, and then we pool money to race within our group. And of course, if you If you're a stranger and you want to come and race with us, that's fine. We'll get you involved. It's a $50 entry fee for anybody. You will win by round. This year, we have one, what they call buyback round, number one, $20. And then we go $50 after that for every round that you win. Now, we pay bonus dollars if you're a member of our group. So outsiders are welcome, and are welcome to put their money up and race if you want to race with us. We have one page of rules. It's in the website, SNDR website. Don't use the initials because you'll get some kind of brokerage firm when you go online. Put in Southeast Nostalgia Drag Racing, and before you get to racing, it'll come up. And then you can find out what the rules are on each class, depending on what class you want to get into. But we have quite a few guys that race stock and super stock. So it's pretty interesting in that regard. And a lot of Mopar guys. You know, people say, where are all the Mopars at? But we have a pretty good group of Mopar people that go with us and race in their super stock cars, mostly super stock. Very few stock cars. But the unique thing is they race on an index also. And this year we're racing on 1/10 of a second index as opposed to a 1/4 second. We used to race on 1/4 second indexes. Now it's down to 1/10 of a second. We're trying to get closer racing because it is a handicap start. All right, we don't want we want to squeeze that handicap up a little bit and make it a little bit tighter, so it makes it more interesting to see us bumper to bumper at the end of the track instead of somebody getting a break and having to catch up. So it's pretty good racing in that regard. Like I said, my time on the track has been relatively small from 2010 until now, 2020. 6 events, 7 events a year, whereas Ware Shoals I was racing probably as many as 8 events for points. Wound up always in the bottom of the half of the group. Didn't bother me, but it said, hey, you got to go somewhere else to become a winner. So I went to Georgia, is where I went to, and I raced at tracks like Chattanooga. I raced up there in Ringgold, Georgia. And of course, that's a Brainerd track, and with Silver Dollar track, which is in Reynolds, Georgia. Albany we're going to in a month's time at the US 19 track. So I found a little niche, which is index drag racing, which was very popular at one time, but it kind of levels the field out. So you don't have to worry about ABC and outlaw. Now, I got nothing against that, don't get me wrong, because I did like racing outlaw when I raced in the group at Ware Shoals, where at Ware Shoals, once again, I red lighted. So that was a short stint on that weekend. I made 3 quality runs on Friday night and had 0 lights each run. And my first run the next day for keeps, I red light. I've enjoyed the ability to tell my story to a certain degree. And it's, at 71 years old, a lot of water ran under the bridge. Thank goodness I still can, I figure I can recollect more stuff now and less stuff that I did yesterday, okay? You recollect names and people that, boy, I remember that. And of course, that's the thing about, and the one thing about drag racing, that you're never too old. Look at John Force. You're never too old to put the hammer down, okay? Now, physically, that can inhibit you. There's no doubt about it. I'm a victim of arthritis, but aren't we all, okay? So take it for what it's worth. Put the hammer down when you get a chance, and you'll find out that's a lot more fun than you think.